I am Dr. B. Bhage. I am serving as Associate Professor in Department of Sociology, Rajiv Gandhi University, which is a central university located in Arunachal Pradesh. And I teach medical sociology. And today I will take a class on epidemiology. Epidemiology is one concept which is very essential, which while trying to know about medical sociology. And as in my previous class, I have talked about medical sociology is a branch of sociology which focuses its study on the epidemics. And let me start the class by introducing what epidemiology is all about. Epidemiology is the basic science of preventive and social medicine, and epidemiology is actually like when you uh, see the word epidemiology, it is made of two words. One is epidemiology, or like it is also understood as it is divided into three equal words. One is epi, the other is demos and logos. Epi means among, and demos means the people, and logos, of course, we know that is study. So, so when we try to understand what epidemiology is all about, epidemiology is something to do about the study which is related to the people and kind of health issues which is among the people. And actually, this word has been originated in the 3rd century BC, it is believed that. And then epidemiology has grown rapidly during the past 3 decades, and it has now become firmly established in medical education and also in social sciences. So, if you see the definition, what is the definition of epidemiology? Epidemiology has been defined actually by John M. Last, which was first done in 1988. And his definition goes like this: the study of the distribution and determinants of health, related states of events in specified populations, and the application of this study to the control of health problems. So, if you see, epidemiology is a study of distribution and determinants of health. Like, what is the distribution of any form of sickness in a community, and what are the determinants which actually apply in, or for that matter, which boosts the issue of that epidemic distribution in a community. So, the concept of epidemiology also, like when we try to understand what is epidemiology, we also come across many other issues. The concept of epidemiology actually encompasses three main components, and these three components are uh, one is disease frequency, which is the measurement of frequency of disease, disability of death, and summarizing this information in the form of rates and ratios. Like, disease frequency means here the measurement of how much a disease is happening, and what does this disease which is in the community bring, how many deaths. And like once you understand like the frequency of the disease, and you know the number of deaths which this disease is bringing, that way you are able to summarize the information in the form of rates, ratios, numbers, for example prevalence rate or incidence rate or death rate, etc. Thus, so here we can say that the basic measure of disease frequency is rates and ratio. So these rates are essential for comparing disease frequency in different populations or subgroups of same population in relation to suspected any kind of causal factors. Such comparisons may yield important dues to the disease etiology. Etiology means the history of a disease. So, epidemiology is also concerned with the measurement of health related events and states in the community. Example, for example, health needs, demands of any form of health services, activities, tasks, healthcare utilization, etc. And also these are the variables such as, like, it has variables like blood pressure, serum cholesterol, height, weight, etc. So number two is the distribution of disease. An important function of epidemiology is the study of distribution patterns in the various subgroups of the population by time, place, and person. That is, the epidemiologist examines whether there has been an increase or decrease of any kind of disease over a span of time. So, in this, we can understand that under distribution of disease, we also come across whether there is a higher concentration of disease in one geographical area compared to any other area, or for that matter, whether disease occurs more often in men or in a particular age group, or like it could be like whether most characteristics of behavior of those affected are different from those not affected. So these are coming under that category. So number three is determinants of disease. This is a very important part of learning in understanding what epidemiology is all about. The determinants of disease, a unique feature of epidemiology is to test etiological hypotheses and identify the underlying causes or risk factors of the disease. What are the risk factors of a disease? So we will, in order to understand what epidemiology is all about, we need to understand and assess the reasons or the risk factors of any kind of disease. So when we try to understand epidemiology, the other issue can be aims of epidemiology. According to the International Epidemiological Association, which is IEA, epidemiology has three main aims. Number one aim is to describe the distribution and magnitude of health and disease problems in human population, which is understood as descriptive studies. Number two is to identify etiological factors. Etiological factors matlab risk factors in the pathogenesis of disease. And the next is analytical studies. This is called analytical studies. And number three is to provide the data essential to the planning, implementation, and evaluation of healthcare services for in the terms of prevention, control, and treatment of disease, and to setting up of priorities among these services. So the ultimate of epidemiology, so that can be summed up into the ultimate aim of epidemiology is to lead to effective action. Number A can be to eliminate or reduce the health problem or its consequences, and to promote the health and well-being of the society as a whole. So when we have understood the aim of the definition of epidemiology, then we have understood the aim and objective of epidemiology. So next we will try to understand what are the uses of epidemiology. One thinker, Mr. Morris, has identified 7 distinct uses of epidemiology, and these are like this. Number one is to study historically the rise and fall of disease in population. Number two is community diagnosis. Number three is planning and evaluation. Number four is evaluation of individual risk and changes. And this again continues to number five, completing the natural history of disease. And number six is searching for reasons, or for that matter causes and risk factors. So these are the points. And next, to study historically the rise and fall of disease in the population is number one point. In this we will understand that it is a well-known fact that the health and disease pattern in a community is never a constant, because it is always, all the time it is changing, and there are fluctuation both over short and long period of time. It is never static. So epidemiology provides a means to study disease profiles and time trends in human population. By study of these trends, we can make or for that matter the epidemiologists can make useful projections into the future and identify emerging health problems and their correlates, like how they are related. And in this second point was community diagnosis. One of the uses of epidemiology is community diagnosis. Community diagnosis here is generally referring to the identification and quantification of health problems in a community in the terms of mortality, the death rates, and morbidity rates and ratios. It also helps to identify individuals or groups at the risk, those who are in need of healthcare services. So this is one very important thing which we see in our community. So number three is planning and evaluation. In this, the epidemiological information about any kind of distribution of health problems over a period of time and place provides the fundamental basis for planning and developing any required health services and for assessing the impact of these services on the people's health problems they face. And the next is evaluation is an equally important concern of epidemiology thereby, and any measures taken to control or prevent a disease must be followed by an evaluation to find out whether the measures undertaken are effective in reducing the frequency of the disease. Here monitoring and evaluation is very important, and which is done by government machineries. So number four is evaluation of individual risk and chances. One of the important tasks of epidemiologists is to make a statement about the degree of risk in a given group of population. So in this we need to identify a certain population of an area and then go ahead with the study. So number six is completing the natural history of disease. Epidemiology is concerned with the entire spectrum of disease in the population, in a given set of population, or the epidemiologist by studying disease pattern in a community in relation to agent, host and environmental factors is in a better position to fill up the gaps in natural history of disease than a clinician. Right, the clinicians are people who practice in the clinics, and epidemiologists are people who are there to monitor and evaluate the data of any kind of epidemic. So number seven is searching for causes and risk factors. So epidemiology helps to identify the causes and risk factors of disease. The etiology, the history of disease is understood by the epidemiologists. Here what we can assume is now the duty of epidemiologists is to understand the host. Host is the human body, and the next is the agent, which can be virus or bacteria, which comes to the host and thereby causing any kind of disease. So the duty of epidemiologists are to see the etiology or the causation or the history of disease first, and try to understand a state of health of a person or a disease of a person, and try to understand what is the external factor, for that matter virus or bacteria, which is affecting the health, and trying to know the numbers of people affected by that and thereby mortality. So this is the duty of epidemiologists. So this much is on the epidemiology for today's class. I hope you have understood, and I will share the link to the people who are interested in this class. Thank you so much.